Well, g'day St Paul's, Sam Russell here, and I'm here with Pip Witheridge this week.
G'day everyone, hope your Sunday's gone well.
And we got Colossians chapter 2, verses 6 and 7 that we're going to tackle together today. Pip, do you want to read the verses for us?
Sure, here we go. Therefore, as you have received Christ Jesus the Lord, walk in him, rooted and built up in him, and established in the faith, just as you were taught, overflowing with gratitude.
Fantastic. I mean, these are great verses, key as we're thinking about confidence in this series all about the confidence that Christians can have in Jesus Christ. And we've got 4 tools that we want to give to you to handle this passage, to tackle this passage, but also tools that you can take with you into other passages. Want to look at the word therefore. Pip's going to take us through some commands, ideas. We're going to look for repeated words, and we're going to think a little bit about imagery. And so we'll kick it off. The first tool we want to share with you is the little tool around the word therefore. It's a really important little word, and as Mike Everett would say, when you see a therefore, you want to
look for what is the therefore.
Very good. And so the idea is to understand, what does the therefore point back to, because that's what the word therefore does. It's sort of like an arrow backwards to send you back to think about what has come before. Sometimes that's the verse directly beforehand. You want to read that. But in this case as well, it's actually pointing you right back to the whole argument that has come before in the rest of Colossians. Back to the idea that the gospel is growing throughout the whole world, the idea that Jesus really is Lord and is the image of the invisible God, and back to the idea that Paul wants everyone to grow in Christian maturity, and in light of all of that, therefore, because of all that, he gives us a command.
He gives us a command, and the command in this passage in verse 6 is to walk in him. So this is a picture of the Christian life. Walk in him. It's not supposed to be staying still, but it's actually a movement, moving forward. It's walking. So it's actually directional, walking in Jesus in light of everything that Jesus has done for us and who he is.
So do we leave behind what we started with? As Christians, we just kind of move on? Is that what happens?
No, we continue in the faith, and we walk in Jesus, as Paul says.
Yeah, so I mean that kind of then explains this little clause here, which is, as you have received Jesus Christ the Lord, walk in him. So as well as we're looking forwards, we're also looking backwards. to Jesus, but we're walking in Jesus. We're kind of going with Jesus. We're looking back and we're going forward, walking in Jesus.
That's right. And as we learned in previous weeks, a helpful tool is to look for any sort of repetition. So repeated words, repeated phrases. I'm looking at this verse. Can we see any repeated words in this one?
Yeah, well, I mean, there at the end of verse 6, the idea is to walk in him. I take it that's in Jesus Christ the Lord. But then you read on verse 7, rooted and built up in him. The idea is there again. And then established in, there it is, the faith. There's this idea that our Christian journey, if you like, our Christian walk is to be sort of located in Jesus. We're not just walking, we're walking in him. We're not just built up, we're built up in him. We're not just established, we're established in the faith.
That's right.
And so that's really important to notice as we think about this directional journey.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm thinking a helpful tool here in Paul's writing, when you're reading Paul's letters, he uses a lot of imagery. And a good way to draw out what Paul is trying to say when he uses imagery is actually just to draw it out, literally draw it.
Nice, draw it out by drawing it out.
That's it.
I like it.
It makes a lot of sense. Now, we've seen that we have received Christ. That's this backwards bit here.
Okay.
So we're looking back, but we're also walking in Jesus. So we're not staying still, we're walking. But there's also other directional language. So here it says in verse 7, rooted, right? So that's kind of a downwards imagery. Downwards, so rooted. What are we rooted in? Well, it's in the faith. In the faith in Jesus. So again, got Jesus down here, rooted in Jesus. And more downwards language is established in. So you want to be firmly established in.
It's like a foundation
Jesus.
almost, isn't it?
That's right. So it's the foundation is Jesus. But also there's some upwards language, built up. All right. So if this is us, this is the Christian person right there. They're rooted in Jesus. They're built up in Jesus. Right there, built up in Jesus. And the idea is that over time, if you continue to be more and more rooted and established in Jesus, that you'll continue to be built up more and more in the faith. And the result is actually found at the end of verse 7. We will be overflowing. Now, this is getting messy, but overflowing with gratitude. So just a helpful tool for me has been, especially with Paul's imagery that he uses, is actually to draw it out. And here we actually see directional language that helps us.
So it's almost like on this side you're going deeper,
Yeah.
and on this side you're going upward, higher, more and more built up,
Yeah.
and the result is that the thankfulness is just overflowing, and that's wonderful, isn't it? Because for us, growing more and more in Jesus is not about pride, it's not about arrogance, but it's about what it's going to result for is in thankfulness, this deep and kind of irrepressible thankfulness that's just going to sort of come out of it. It's just going to overflow. We won't be able to stop it as we are rooted in Jesus and built up in him together.
Yeah. So this is right here. That's who Paul wants us to be, right there.
Awesome. Pip, that's really helpful. Great to tackle the text with you this
Thanks,
week.
Sam. It's been good.
All right. We'll see you later, guys. Nice.
Cool.
Happy with that?
Yeah.